Valentine's Day. What a ridiculous holiday. To me, this is on par with Arbor Day, Flag Day. Shouldn't say that. I don't want to insult the flag. Groundhog Day. Meaningless, stupid holidays. But I had to make this video just because this is something I know it's already been talked about. I've even talked about it on other interviews for the show, for the channel. But Derek from More Plates, More Dates was the first one that I know of that broke this story of a 14-year-old kid. Called himself Big SM on YouTube. I don't know what his real name is. He's 14 years old. And he made a video which he took down shortly after. I think probably after Derek's video exposed him. But talking about his whole experience, buying TREN from some bodybuilder guy at the gym. Obviously a much older guy. His results. And you can see in the thumbnail, he makes workout videos. He wants to be a YouTube fitness celebrity. Maybe that's why he's trying to get muscles. He sees all these people on YouTube making money and cashing in, just sitting there showing you how to do curls or whatever. He wants some of that fame, some of that fortune. So I get that, especially these days, because everybody wants to be famous. Everybody thinks they should be a superstar these days. But I will answer all questions at the end, guys. All questions and comments, even if they're unrelated to what we're talking about. So I'm a dad. My kids are older now. My son is 21. My daughter's turning 27. But, you know, it was my job, and it still is my job, to protect them, to keep them safe, you know, especially until they're 18, 21 years old. But, you know, when a kid's at that very young, impressionable age, that's probably those are the most dangerous years, because that's when a lot of kids experiment with all kinds of things, you know, casual sex, recreational drugs, in this case, anabolic steroids. So as you can see in the kid's video, and you know what, go ahead, give the kid Big SM, give him some views, whatever. He made some gains, but as you can see, he's still a skinny kid. He's got some little bicep peaks. He would have gotten those results anyway. It would have taken him a little longer, honestly. He's not making any gains that he was not going to make from just training naturally. He just accelerated the process. That's great. You say, well, why wait? Because when you're 14, you're still a child. Mentally, your brain is not fully developed. You're not good at making decisions. That's why teenagers make such horrible decisions. They lead the country in drunk driving deaths, all kinds of things, unplanned pregnancies, because they don't think. They're still, in many ways, children, especially at 14. Just because you're gone through puberty, or this kid looks like he's just starting puberty, I'm thinking, not that long ago. You have a long way to go. You have a lot of maturing mentally and physically to get through before you're an adult. When you're an adult, legally it's 18. I think 21 is a little better marker, even though, you can vote at 18, you can go in the military at 18. I still think 21 is more of a genuine age where I'd say, okay, that's an adult. 18, 19, even 20-year-olds, they're still kids in many ways. So this kid, the thing that bothers me the most about a teenager using steroids is not necessarily the long-term damage he's going to do, but one thing he's going to do pretty quickly if he stays on steroids, and most people that start steroids stay on them forever. They might cycle on and off, but it's a lifelong thing. Once you try them, I did that video saying you'll never quit steroids. I'm getting to all questions and comments at the end, guys. He is going to destroy his HPTA, his hypothalamus pituitary testes axis. He will shut down permanently his body's ability to make testosterone. Oh, what's a big deal? You say you can just use testosterone. TRT. Do you want to be on TRT when you're 15 or 16 years old, 17, 18 even? 19? No. TRT, the whole concept of TRT is to replace the testosterone that men's bodies naturally produce less of as we age. So when we talk about how old should a man be on TRT, obviously it depends on his testosterone levels, which you get checked by a doctor. But generally speaking, we're looking at guys 35, 45 and up. We're not looking at teenagers. The only people that age who would be genuinely given testosterone by a doctor would be someone who's hypogonadal, whose body doesn't produce enough testosterone. This kid, I'm sure his body was cranking out tests. Every 14-year-old kid, unless he's got an issue like that where he's hypogonadal, your body's cranking out testosterone and growth hormone, because those are the hormones that your body uses to transform your body from a child into an adult. You go through this whole thing, this puberty that we've all been through as adults, all of us who are adults now, we all went through it. And you don't want to be effing with your hormones during that period. This is a terrible, terrible time to be using steroids when you're in puberty. I don't know if it's a myth. I don't know if he's going to stunt his growth. Maybe the kid's already 6'7". I don't know. He doesn't look like it, but who knows? But he will permanently shut down his body's ability to make testosterone. And he's going to have to be on testosterone therapy. Another thing, TREN. TREN itself, very, very powerful, very toxic steroid. Does not need to be used by beginners. No, no, no. It is not. Even though every beginner, that's all I ever hear is, TREN, I want some TREN. How much TREN should I use? My first cycle, I want to use TREN, TREN, TREN. TREN has taken on this mythical status. It is more powerful. I think it's six times more anabolic than testosterone, which means you shouldn't be taking a gram of TREN a week. Even if, say you're taking 400, 500, 600 milligrams of test a week, that's a very average dose for a lot of users. You should not be using 600 grams of TREN or a gram of TREN. It's way too toxic. It's rough on the kidney. It's just a very, very dangerous steroid because it is so powerful. And any drug that's powerful has side effects. They all do. Even the ones that do good things. You watch the commercials on TV and there's, it's going to cure your asthma. And then there's a list of side effects. It takes up a whole screen in tiny print to tell you what's going to happen. In addition to curing your asthma, it's going to give you headaches, nausea, indigestion, diarrhea. It's going to give you all these other problems, but your asthma will be cured. So a 14-year-old should not be using steroids. This kid could have waited, could have trained naturally for a few years and put on really good size, gotten strong, gave himself a good base. That's what I'd like to see. It's not so much an age thing, although I would never want to see anyone 14 years old on steroids. It's the fact that you should wait until you've built a base, till you really know how to train, how to eat, how your body responds to things. Get some really good gains naturally. Then when you add the drugs in, that's when the magic happens, because by then you've got your training down, you got your eating down. Hopefully you're an adult, you're over 21, you're somewhere, typical starter age for steroids these days is 20 to 25. The real villain in this, first of all, his parents. How do his parents not know what's going on? Did they not notice? I mean, I'm assuming he was much skinnier before. I haven't seen any before and after pictures, but you see him in the thumbnail. You can go to his videos. He's not a big kid, so he must have been pretty skinny before, because I think he said he put on, I don't know, it's like 20 pounds. If anybody knows, put it in the comments, because I don't know all the details of his story. So his parents, assuming he has both a mom and a dad, maybe he just has a mom, a single mom, like a lot of kids, doesn't have any idea what's going on, I'm guessing, or else they would shut this crap down now, or as soon as they found out about it. The person I find most disturbing in this whole scenario is the guy at the gym who sold a 14-year-old steroids. Who in their right mind with any kind of ethics or morals would do that? To me, that's like selling a 14-year-old heroin or cocaine. These are dangerous drugs. Steroids, I'm not saying steroids are as bad as cocaine or heroin, but they're not harmless. They do have side effects. They will have effects on your blood pressure, your heart, your kidneys, not to mention things like hair loss, acne, gyno. They're not something to be used lightly. Certainly not something that a child, and a 14-year-old, I'm sorry, is a child. This kid doesn't even look like a man. Sometimes you see a 14-year-old boy who's got like a little mustache. He looks pretty much like an adult. This one still looks very much like a kid, which tells me he has a lot of physical maturing still to do. He's probably got, unless he screwed it up, he probably would have had another 2 years at least of puberty before he was fully matured physically, at least. And now I don't know what's going to happen to him. I'm not a doctor, and I don't know what the ramifications of this are going to be for this poor kid. But the dealer who sold him this, if anybody knows him, shame on him. Shame, shame, shame. You are a piece of crap, sir. I don't care. I'll say it. You're a piece of garbage. Selling a 14-year-old skinny kid at your gym steroids just because he couldn't wait. He's impatient. He wants those gains now, even if it means screwing himself up for later. And he can't think about later. A 14-year-old has no concept of the future. All they understand is now. You tell someone, use these drugs and they're going to get you jacked. You might die in 5 years. They'll go like, well, he said might, and he also said 5 years. 5 years is when you're 14, 5 years is a very long time. That's like 50 years to a 14-year-old. If you tell them, keep using steroids, there's a good chance, keep start at 14. There's a good chance if you use them steadily, you might have very serious health problems, maybe even be dead by 30. They laugh at you. And plus, they don't think 30. They think 30. That's like an old man. Who'd want to live to be 30? That's old. Until you get to 30 and you realize, oh, this is actually still pretty young. But when you're 14, 30, that's old. That's a lifetime away. That's like you would trade anything now. You'd make a deal with the devil for anything, even if you were sure you would die at age 30, because that's so far away. You'd rather live now. All right, now I'm going to get to some of your comments and questions. YouTube Premium, no, I don't want that. Sorry, guys. So let's go to your questions. Starting from the top, shall we? Okay. Uber Steve says, yo. Okay, yo back. Jay Marquez, he just wants attention. He's probably not even on roids. It's all about the algorithm. Guess what? It worked. You might be right. Maybe he's not on steroids. Maybe it's all a hoax, but let's just assume he is. I've heard of kids 14, 15 on steroids. This is not unprecedented at all. It still bothers the hell out of me, but no, I don't think it. It's a fun world we live in. That's true. The red loop. Adults make even worse decisions than kids. Oh, yeah. But, that's an adult. If an adult says, I want to jump off this 40-story building into a swimming pool, that's an adult. There's a reason kids aren't held legally accountable. They're not legal adults. They can't sign contracts. They can't be prosecuted most of the time as adults. It's because in the eyes of the law and the medical world, they're still children. They're not responsible yet. They can't be held responsible. Hi, Ron. How I'm doing? I'm doing fine. George Suliatos. What the heck? Roids are for the lazy. Yep. Dr. George, we'll be talking tomorrow. Wait 10 years and then reconsider. Besides, in puberty, you have to wait until you reach your total height and let your hormones work. Yeah, I don't know if this kid's messing up his height. I mean, what if he's 5'6" now and he was meant to be 5'11" or 6 foot and this leaves him at 5'6"? Can you imagine a lifetime of being 5'6" as a man, which being short as a woman is no big deal. People love short women. They think they're cute and sexy, but short men, you think women find short men sexy? They don't, unfortunately. They want guys that are 6 foot and above now. So can you imagine knowing that you would have been 6 foot tall, but you screwed up? You were so impatient. You had to have muscle so fast. You couldn't wait and do it naturally, which you were perfectly capable of doing. You screwed up your own height, and now you're going to be stuck half foot shorter, and you're going to be facing a lifetime of, getting less attention from women, less respect from men. That's just the way, I think it's bull myself that short men are treated differently, but they are. They absolutely are. Okay, that was from George. Next one is test, sip, and boldenone a good cycle for beginners? These are questions for Dr. Tuliatos. So if you go to the Ask Dr. T videos, put them there. But yeah, that's not a bad cycle. That's actually a pretty reasonable cycle. But I wouldn't do like a gram each. If you're a beginner, I would do like, a beginner would do very well on like 300-400 milligrams of each, not grams. Joe Little, great video. I'd charge his parents not parenting him in child abuse. If they knew about this, yeah, but I suspect his parents, or, in America, we don't have a lot of parents anymore. We have a lot of single parent households. I don't think they know. And if they did, yeah, and if they were allowing this to happen, there probably could be some sort of legal charge there. So child abuse or neglect or some crap like that. Richard Williams, test and bold is a decent beginner cycle. Okay, now we're talking cycles. Second and third time cycles don't go above 500 meg tests and 600 EQ. Yeah, I agree. Don't, with gear in general, guys, I always say start out low. There's no reason to blast high doses in the beginning because your body's going to get used to it. And over time, you're going to need more and more and more. And you will get the same results with 300 or 400 milligrams right now as you would with 1,000, really, honestly. Especially a beginner makes great gains on the first few cycles regardless. So don't risk your health, don't waste your money and take a high dose as a beginner. Stay very, very moderate for a while until that doesn't do anything for you. Then you're going to have to start bumping it up, unfortunately, over time. That's what drug dealers do, yeah. Yeah, drug dealers, they don't have morals. And, I've heard recreational drug users use the defense. They would have got it from somebody else anyway. That's a crock. That's a cop-out to me to say, yeah, I sold this kid steroids, but if I didn't sell it to him, he would have just found someone else. Maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe he would have had so much trouble finding it from somebody else, he would have given up and decided to train naturally, right? Who knows? Probably not, but you never know. Okay, so I can't read your name, guys. Is it Nambordor? Because you got some crazy font. Richard, at Richard, 28 trains since the last 5 years. Okay, so this is, you guys are talking about your cycle advice here. So should we wait till 20, says Club Fit 2018? I would say minimum of 20, but I would also put the caveat in there. If you're 20 and you're just starting out, no. If you're 20 and you're just starting to train and learn how to eat and everything, please give it a year or two. Get some good gains, put some good size on, get strong, get a base. The great thing about having a natural base is that when you're off steroids, you don't shrink away to nothing. These people that you see when they're off steroids, they don't even look like the same person. They don't even look like they lift, even though they still go to the gym, most of them. But they shrink down to nothing because they don't know how to train. They don't know how to eat without the drugs helping them. They rely on the drugs from day one. If you do that, you never really learn your body. So I just say, get a base, guys, a natural base. Let's see. Nicola Fallon says 14 too young, too much Instagram influence, unfortunately. Yeah, like I said, everybody wants to be Insta famous. Everybody wants to be famous now. Everyone wants attention, likes, clicks, views, followers. It's a messed up world. Social media has done so much to turn this world and the people of this world into a very, very different place. Man, people weren't like this before. They really weren't. People didn't all need and crave all this attention, especially from strangers. Back when I was a kid, 1,000 years ago, if you didn't get this, you didn't get validation, clicks and likes and people messaging you and, oh, well, you lived your life and you were happy. But now it's never enough. Some people, they need to post all day long. And if they don't get a bunch of likes and if they don't get a lot of new followers every day, they get really upset. They get depressed. And it's never enough because, what if they get to 1 million followers and like, well, so-and-so has 2 million or so-and-so has 3 million. Anyway, moving on. Message retracted. The red loop, Ron. We are all fulfilling this kid with exactly the kind of attention. If this attention-seeking individuals don't get attention, they stop doing these things. Actually, in this case, I disagree because I think if this kid is called out enough, at the very least, his parents are going to find out. Because like I said, I'm not sure his parents or parent, whoever's the guardian of this, maybe he's lives with grandparents. I don't know his situation, but he's got a legal guardian. He's 14. Somebody's taking care of this kid. Somebody will let them know. Junior here, whatever his name is, Junior's on steroids. He's made a video talking about it. He took it down, but several people took clips from it and commented like this: more plates, more dates. And that guy gets like a minimum 100 grand views on every video. So a lot of people saw that video. And I think, I'd have to look at the views. I think he got a couple hundred views on that. So somebody's going to let the parents know or the guardian of this kid know, even though he took the video down. That's what you guys, all you young people out there, stuff you put out online on the internet or whatever, that's forever. So think twice before you post videos, before you send anybody nude pictures, sex, masturbate, whatever. It's out there and you're never getting it back. Somebody could save that, somebody could screenshot that, and it might come back to haunt you later in life, maybe sooner rather than later. So be very careful, guys. Anyway, next one. Nambardor, is that your name? Weeks back, it's test sip and bowl. No, that's cycle talk. We're still talking about this. You guys are still going back and forth about your cycles. Is this kid educated enough on this subject? Does he know about eating 5-6 meals a day and cardio in the morning, proper sleep? This will affect his school grades. I very seriously doubt he took the time to research and learn all about steroids, how they're used, what drugs, what amounts, this one does that, what to be worried about. I highly, highly doubt he went through that whole process. I think he was in a rush. He started training. He wasn't satisfied because he wasn't getting big fast enough. So, he hears, you look on social media, look on YouTube, all you hear is TREN, TREN, TREN. He got himself some TREN. But I don't think he has any idea what he's doing, honestly. VC, according to you, sir, what a solid foundation means, like having 18-inch arms, 46-inch chest. No. You can't go by measurements because some of you are never, ever going to have 18-inch arms. Some of you are never going to have 46-inch chest. Some of you will have 18-inch arms before you even start training. I've seen it. There are people out there like that. There's not a lot of them. But it's basically how far you are from your starting point is what I'm talking about. So I'm going to use some crazy round numbers. Let's say you start off training at 100 pounds. I know it's ridiculous. Let's just work with me here. 100 pounds and you're 15 years old, okay? 18 years old, 3 years of training later, you've really started to figure out how to train. You've gotten much stronger. Let's say your bench press was the bar, 45 pounds. You couldn't do that for more than 2 reps. 3 years later, you're doing 225 for 12 good reps. You're 100 and let's say you're 145, 50 pounds now, up from 100. Much bigger, much stronger than you were before. I still think 18 is too young personally, but that's a base. That's what I'm talking about is coming a certain distance away from your starting point. Certain amount of size that you put on, certain amount of strength that you've built, a base that you're much bigger and stronger than you were when you started. You should be. If you're not, ride out the natural gains. It's gonna take some patience, but you got to trust me on this, guys. In the long run, you're so much better off for so many reasons. Okay. Well hung. Well, good for you, sir. Well hung. Big Ron, totally off topic. How do I take care of a nagging bicep tendon pain near my left elbow? Geez, you need therapy. You can start off with things like ice, but anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen. But if it's really bad, you need to get an MRI. You might have a tear in there. I say this with all these tendon type of injuries. Don't just assume you know what it is. You don't know what it is. So you might need a referral from your doctor to an orthopedic surgeon, and those are generally speaking the people that do MRIs for things like that. Get it looked at, find out what it is, and based on what they see in the MRI, they'll recommend a course of treatment. It might just be physical therapy. They might you might need surgery. There's all kinds of things, but until you know what the real issue is, you can't do anything about it. Okay, this is some Russian characters. So, Здравствуйте, Gogvila, my friend over there. What do you think about full body workout every other day, Leroy Colbert? I don't like the idea of full body workouts. I did them early on because I started off reading these Nautilus books, and the Nautilus training model was based around the Nautilus clubs, where you just did a circuit of each, you went around the room and did a couple sets on each machine, and you worked everything, chest, shoulders, arms, legs. That was a Nautilus style. I think it's good for a beginner to do full body workouts, say like 3 times a week or every other day, because as a beginner, you're not very strong. You'll get very sore for the first couple weeks, obviously, but of anybody starting to train. But you're not doing much damage to your muscles. As time goes on, you're getting stronger. You will be able to cause a lot more micro tears in the muscle fibers. That's when you need to either start splitting things up, like upper body, lower body, push-pull legs, or the bro split, something like chest and triceps, shoulders and biceps, back, legs, things like that. But full body, it's too much, especially if you attempted to do a full workout for every body part in one session. I'm talking like 3 exercises for biceps, another 3 for tris, 4 for shoulders, 3 or 4 for chest, 4 or 5 for back. 10 exercises, 6 to 8, 10 exercises for legs. You'd be there all damn day. So no, I don't like that idea. Okay, you guys are still talking about gear. It's the pressure of social media. Teens jumping on PDs to make dollars in a couple of years. They gone. Yeah, you know what? If you guys have looked into how much money can be made on YouTube, you need a lot of views. I'm talking like, if you're not getting like 1 million views per video, you're not making that much money. Even, for a while I was kind of mistaken. I thought, oh, I got 20,000, 50,000 views. Oh boy. I thought that was good ad revenue out of that. And I think it comes out to something like $1 for every 1,000 views. So if you get 100,000 views, that's $100. Maybe to a kid, $100,000, that's a lot of money. $100. I doubt it though. But to an adult, to a company, that's chump change. Aubrey Bennett, steroids work so much better on well-trained and developed muscle. Look at Kai Green and Ronnie Coleman. That's a great point, and I know a lot of people refuse to believe that Kai was natural for many years. He turned pro naturally. Ronnie Coleman turned pro naturally. I know nobody's going to believe it, because nobody will believe that these genetic freaks exist unless you've actually seen them. Some of you have. Some of you probably went to school with somebody. They looked muscular. They had muscles before they ever did anything. They did nothing, no exercise at all. And they were lean. They had muscles. You know why? Great genetics. I think a lot of it has to do with being myostatin deficient, follistatin deficient. They just have natural muscle. Once they start training, they blow up like freaking balloons. So I do believe that, especially people with good genetics, if they wait and build a solid base. Ronnie Coleman turned pro in 1991 in the fall at the World Championships in Poland. He was 5'10" and a half, and he only weighed about 210 pounds. Okay. Turned pro, did a few pro shows he did pro shows for a couple of years before he used anything. And I think he said many times it was Flex Wheeler who explained to him, Ronnie, you got a great potential and everything, but this is what you need. You need to be doing what everyone else is doing. Once he did that, that's when he started winning shows. And a couple of years later, he was Mr. Olympia. So he went from turning pro at 210 pounds roughly to it was the 2003 Olympia. He was 296 pounds on stage. Okay, if he had already been on steroids, if 210 pounds was already him on steroids, he wasn't going to put on another 85 pounds of muscle beyond that. So, but anyway, I know nobody will believe you because if you guys see anybody, there are a lot of fake natties, a lot of liars out there, but there are people out there. There's not many of them. They're rare. They do have these genetics where they look way better, even naturally, than most of us ever could, no matter how long we trained, no matter what drugs we took. It's not fair. Wow. Oh, well. Cry me a river, right? Nembrador, here we go. You guys at MD are doing a great job educating us. Huge respect to you all. May God bless you all. Ron, Giles, and the crew, thank you. Thank you. Robert Nose. Well, Ron, if kids are educated at school about PDs, truthfully, this wouldn't even be the issue. Same with drugs, guns. Yeah, I mean, what class would that be? Life? A lot of people say that kids aren't really prepared for life from school, and I agree. I mean, finances, that's like a basic class I wish I had in school, just to manage your money, your bills, your bank accounts, your credit cards. Otherwise, you get duped into, paying credit card companies, giving them most of your money for your life and being in debt. But anyway, it's a whole other subject. It's true, lack of education. Joey Holtusen says, I used to be a genetic freak, but after my deployment, I became a type 2 diabetic and gained 100 pounds in 2 years. I felt like I had chronic fatigue syndrome. My testosterone fell to 87. Well, Joey, first of all, thank you for your service. If you were a genetic freak, you still have those genetics dormant. They're still there. If you ever decided to get back into this, lose the weight, get back in the gym, eat right, you'd look phenomenal. Anybody who looked great at one time could look great again. I understand diabetes complicates things, but it's not like you're crippled or you have some really debilitating illness like Crohn's or something like that would really be a hindrance. You could get it back, and maybe you will. Oh, I'm sorry. Then you continued. I'm not eating keto and lost weight, and I'm looking muscle mass. Testosterone is now about 300. Total cholesterol is 141. Good for you. Good for you. I like to hear people making positive changes in their lives. Lift Fit 5 says, I'm 32. This year was the first year I actually touched anything, which was SARMs. I had very good results. Had blood work done. Of course, liver values have been raised, but only slightly. Yeah, I'm not a fan of SARMs, honestly. I know people love them, but if they were everything they were cracked up to be, I'd be all over them, but they're not. They do have side effects. They will crash your own testosterone production. They will affect your liver values. SARMs were billed as all the good stuff from steroids without any of the bad stuff. It was too good to be true. You can bet your butt, you bet your ass, you can bet that big pharma companies right now, they're working on perfecting all that. Eventually they will come out with SARMs by prescription. You'll have to pay big money for it, but they'll do these things. They will give you the positive results, the muscle mass, things like that, the strength, the endurance, without a lot of side effects, hopefully. But we're not there yet. Joey, I'm 45 years old and thinking of using now. Yeah, if your test is 300, I think you just said, right? So you don't have really low tests, but it's just on the cusp. I mean, 300, it's borderline. You could certainly ask your doctor if they'd be willing to put you on TRT to get you up to something the more ideal range, somewhere in the 600 to 800 nanograms per deciliter range for total. And you'd want your free test to be in good range too. But I always say there's no shame in it, guys. If you actually need to be on TRT, go get on it. Get it. And if that doctor won't help you, go to another doctor. Doctors work for you. I say this all the time. You're the boss, believe it or not. 14-year-old kids should be more interested in girls rather than TREN. Haha. Well, that's Antony. Maybe he thinks this is how he's going to get girls. I know when I was 14, that's when I started lifting weights. I didn't know about bodybuilding per se, but I had a weight set at home that I got for Christmas when I was 13. And I thought muscles would help with girls. It turns out once you build a really good physique, it turns out gay men are far more interested in you than straight women, because of the muscles. Women are into an athletic look. They want to see abs, a little bit of shoulders, a little bit of arms and chest. They don't want to see anything extreme. They don't like the bodybuilder look, most of them, unless they're part of that culture. In the world I live in, the little subculture I live in, the bodybuilding culture, being jacked is great. And even then, even in my little world, the guys who do the best with the women are the classic physique guys and the men's physique guys. Those are the ones that they rack them up. The open bodybuilders, the big, huge, juiced up guys, they don't do so well. The women aren't as into them. They're into the aesthetic look with the little waist, the wide shoulders, the abs. A lot of open bodybuilders have lost their hair from the steroids, so a lot of chicks don't like that. But the men's physique guys, class physique guys, nice, full, wavy hair, they're all over that. Lift Fit Live again. This kid is going to mess up his entire body with the harsh anabolic. Yeah, I totally agree. Same, thinking about TRT. Joey says, Health Losing says, my 20s and 30s, I had 20-pound bench. I think you meant to say 20-inch arms, but you didn't write that. You didn't tell me how much you benched. I'm sure it was a lot. 52-inch chest, 220, small waist, all natural. Yeah, that's a genetic freak. Anybody that can get 20-inch arms with a small waist and a 52-inch chest naturally, that's a genetic freak. Not many people can do those things naturally. That's a rarity. Just like, I talk about genetics for bodybuilding on being on a spectrum. Not many people have bad genetics. Not many people have great genetics. Most people are somewhere in the middle. It's just like height. So the U.S. Average height for males is 5'9". So most men in the United States are somewhere between 5'7" and 5'11". I think that's like 80% of all men in the U.S. You don't have too many who are much shorter, and you don't have many. It's funny because women now, they all want guys who are 6'3" or whatever. Look at the stats. That's like half of 1% of the population that's 6'3" and above. So if you have all the women going after, like half of 1% of the men, can you see how that might be a problem, guys, girls, everybody? Anyway. Geez, I'm going all hard. Lift Fit Live says, train hard, eat clean, as they say. LOL. Yeah, I remember Boston White had those shirts. I think he was selling them. The hat, too. Harrison Sherwin, is it possible after one test cycle for your natural production to be suppressed forever? I don't think it's impossible, but it's very, very improbable. Very improbable from one cycle. I'm not saying it probably has happened, but you remember Len Bias? He was a very promising college basketball player. He signed, I think he was in the first round draft pick for the Boston Celtics. This was a long time ago. I want to say it was the early 80s. So Len Bias, this poor kid, before he ever played a game of pro basketball for the Celtics, he went somewhere, I don't know if it was a party or a house or whatever. He did cocaine for the first time in his life, heart attack, and died. I think he was 21 years old. He would have been rich, famous. He would have been, anyway. So one cycle of tests, can that destroy your production forever? Very unlikely. I don't think it's impossible, but it's very, very, very unlikely. Don't ask me how many cycles it would take, because nobody can answer that question. Ron, I did a D-ball cycle when I was 18. My friend had the pink ones from Thailand. Yeah, I remember those. They were called Anabol. Anabol was the name of the brand from Thailand. They came in a little bucket, like a jar. I think they came in a jar of like 500 or 1,000 or something. And I think they were 5 milligrams. So you could take them throughout the day, like one with each meal, instead of trying to take a whole 25 or 50 milligram tab at once. Let's see. Had no morning wood until 1 year after. Oh, geez. Okay, so that's somebody that did one cycle and he was messed up. It happens. It's rare, but that sucks. Well, you had no morning wood, but could you get regular erections? Because I don't think it's a big deal if you don't wake up with an erection, if you can still get them when you want them or need them. I don't know. Clearly, I'm not a urologist here. Uh-oh. My A1C is 5.2 now. I need something more than androgel. Your A1C, that's a liver value. Anyway, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to answer questions like that. Lift, fit, live. Definitely get an MRI. I had the same bicep pain. I had to have surgery. It was no joke. Don't mess around. Let it go. Yeah, I tore my tricep in 2011. I don't know if you can see the scar from I've covered up with it. You can see it there. See that scar? Goes from there to there. So when I had terrible elbow pain for years, and I thought it was just tendonitis. I put sleeves on, and I would feel a little better with the sleeve on, and I would put like Ben Gay on it. I would ice it, and in 2011, I was coming back to sparring. I used to do MMA. I did it for 8 years. No, I'm not claiming to be a tough guy, but I wanted to learn how to fight. So I was sparring, and it was like I had stopped going to the MMA classes that year for about 3 months while I prepped for the Team Universe. And I came back to the classes after the contest was over. And I think that it was the very first time back doing sparring. Somebody kicked me or whatever, and I fell. I tripped over my own feet, I think. Broke the fall by putting my arm down, and I heard this shh, and I felt the tricep just come off. And so, luckily I was able to get surgery a month later. Had an MRI, and it was torn. It was hanging on by a thread. But when the surgeon, when I woke up from that surgery in the recovery room, the surgeon, he came over and said, your tricep was like it was about half torn for a long time, for years. And he knew that because he found there was the new tear that had just happened. It was very fresh and raw looking, but then he saw a bunch of blunt ends of the tricep that retracted up here. See why my arms suck? So you might have a tear and not know it and think it's just tendonitis or it's pain. I can train around it. I'll just take some ibuprofen. I'll do this, I'll do that. But I really encourage you to get MRI, because if it's torn, I think that they won't operate unless it's 50% or more, usually. But you still want to know. You need to know what's going on in there. Okay, androgel didn't raise my testosterone levels that much. Yeah, Joey says I've talked with Dr. Tuliados and Dr. O'Connor about androgel, and a lot of it gets wasted. A lot of what you put on never gets into the body. So it's a certain percentage of what you take based on the delivery system. Pills, not all the pills. I think it's like 40 or 50%, Dr. T was telling me, which is why he suggests putting it sublingually and try to let it dissolve instead of swallowing it. More of it gets into your bloodstream that way because of the buccal gland under your tongue. Injections, it's like 100% utilized. Androgel, I don't know. So if you put like 100 milli, no, say you put on like a serving, a serving of androgel. Because when I used to use it, I think it was like 5 milligrams was like 3 pumps or something. So maybe you were getting 2 milligrams out of that into your body. Androgel sucks. Cannabis cure cancer. Yeah, can it? I don't know. I'm 25 years old on low dose Testi, 150 milligrams every other day. Do you think it's a safe dose? If I had arrhythmia, if you had arrhythmia or irregular heartbeats, I wouldn't be using anything. A lot of times when people die younger that are steroid users, it is because they had some pre-existing condition, either heart problem or they had some liver disease they didn't know about or kidney disease, and the drugs exacerbated that problem that was already there. Whereas with most people, if you're healthy, it will take many, many years for those things to really develop and give you trouble. But if you have a pre-existing, how old did you say, 25, and you already have arrhythmia? Yeah, I wouldn't do it, Guy. Your life is more important. You're going to put some muscle on and then you're going to die. Maybe you'll have a heart attack and be dead by the time you're 30. Trust me, guys, 30 is very young. When I was 25, 30 seemed like it was still far away. And 51 like I am now, but trust me, you don't want to die, guys. Don't do anything to hasten the process. Lift, fit, live. I might try the testosterone pellet. Seems interesting. Okay, I have experience with that. Sorry, I got to drink again. So the first time I was put on TRT, I think I was 38 or 39. I don't know, but the first thing that they tried, the doctor, and he was actually a very famous doctor, Abraham Morgentaler. Look him up because he actually wrote books on testosterone replacement. He's a teacher at Harvard Medical School, very well known in the TRT community. Morganthaler, Dr. Abraham Morgentaler, brilliant guy. So he tried the pellets with me, and they use like a cattle pellet gun and put it in my glute, and it goes in about that deep, right? You'd think that's fine. So at the time, I was still doing the MMA classes. I was, of course, still training, very active. My glutes were working all the time. My legs were training, and I think I think after every pellet implant procedure, you're supposed to not do anything overly active with the lower body for a couple weeks. Nobody told me that. But the pellets started working their way out of my butt, about that far, to the skin. Because like one day I'm feeling around, and I feel back there, and I felt something hard. And I was like, no, it can't be. And I grabbed it, and I pulled it out, and sure enough, it was one of the pellets. I'm like, mother effer. It came out. And then a couple days later, another one comes out. I think he'd only put in like 3. So I went back to him, and after that, we went on to androgel. In retrospect, I should have just done cypionate shots, but I think with that place, I would have had to go there every week for the shot, and that place was a pain in the ass. The parking lot, the spaces were narrow. It was like a spiral, and cars were like hitting each other constantly. Anyway, long story. So yeah, I don't like the pellets. Not a fan. Plus, they stay and they dissolve over a period of months, so you only need to get them put in your butt 2 or 3 times a year. So that's the appeal to a lot of people, is they do it maybe twice a year and they don't have to think about it, but I don't know. I'm not a fan. Okay, Testo Pal, we almost done. How about high volume, upper, lower? Are they good? You talking about workouts for your body? Sure. That's a whole other subject. I blame those, Joey Holton says, I blame those military shots of anthrax vaccine with hepatitis combo for my body changes. Could have been. I mean, geez. Look at what happened to all the Vietnam veterans from the Agent Orange. So I don't doubt that something they gave you in the military screwed you up. There's a history of that happening. What is Faiz Khan says, what is good gears? Come on, dude. What is good gears? If you have to ask that, you shouldn't be using. You need to do some research. There's plenty of info out there. Go get educated, please. Robert Now says, what? I'm 6'3", where are the women? Well, they're out there somewhere, dude. No, they really do like, I don't know if you're watching these red pill videos like Coach Greg Adams or Better Bachelor or Alexander Grace. There's some good videos. They do prefer, even if a woman herself is very short, they want the man to be very tall now. It's women have gotten crazy. They all want, it doesn't matter what they look like, they all want basically the Bachelor. So what they don't realize is, like I said, if 100% of the women are after 1% or less of the men, those 1% of the men are going to have a lot of girls to hang out with. They're not going to bother getting married or having a girlfriend because they have girls throwing at themselves every day. And a lot of women are going to end up, either alone or having to settle for someone who's not as tall and good looking and rich as they wanted. But oh well, that's life, girls. Here we go. Gear won't hurt you in small doses. Proper use. Abuse is what hurts you. That's from great video. Exclamation point. Yeah, I don't think gear is safe. There's no safe way to use gear, but there is a safer way to use it. If you keep your doses small, if you take time off between cycles, if you go to the doctor and get your blood work done and make sure how your liver is healthy, your kidneys, you get heart scans, your cholesterol, your HDL, LDL. If you're very, very fastidious about your health and you pay attention to it, and you eat very healthy food, and you do cardio, there's a lot of things you can do to keep yourself as healthy as possible while you're on gear. But eating a bunch of crap food, staying on heavy doses of things like TREN and Anadrol and insulin all the time, yeah, you're not going to be that healthy. Aaron Giaz LP, sir, who's your favorite natural bodybuilder of all time? And there's a smiley face because maybe none of them are natural. Don't have one. I've seen very impressive physiques. Chris Faldo, who used to win the lightweight at Team Universe. The original Ron Coleman, not Ronnie. There was Ron Coleman, who I believe he became a minister or something. But he won the Team Universe, his weight class, many times in the first decade of that show in the '90s. He was really good. Tito Raymond, older brother, he's my age, of Jose Raymond, great natural bodybuilder in his time. And I won't get into other names that you guys are just gonna say, "Wow, they're on drugs." Maybe they are. I don't know. Great video. People are saying your claim natty. You mean me? No, I don't claim natty. I claimed natty many years ago when I was natty. I competed in natural shows from 1989 to 1995. Never touched a drug in that time. Started drugs at the end of '96. And if I ever did tested shows after that, they were tested shows where you had to be off for 1 year, and I was off for 1 year. But after that, I never said I was natural again, because once you've used drugs, you can't really say you're natural. So, and I do not claim to be natural. I'm always on test, always. And sometimes I throw other things in. So, yeah, I'm not natural. Didn't say I was. Michael TREN is my favorite natural bodybuilder. Haha, we've heard that one before. Do you think taking steroids worth it? You know what? I should make a whole video on that, because that deserves more than like a little 2-second reply. Depends on what your goals are, what you're willing to risk. There's a lot of things involved, but that's a great idea for a future one of these. Ask Ron. Rohit Kira, for those who are in their 20s those who are in their 30s or 40s, is a PCT really worth it? There's no real evidence I've seen research-wise that PCT actually works. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on steroids, but my feeling is once you've been using steroids for a very long time, don't bother with PCT. Just use TRT doses to bridge your cycles. So if you're going to do a steroid cycle and you're in your 30s or 40s, just go on like 150, 200 milligrams of test, any kind of test, cypionate and anthate, after that until your next cycle. The PCT, because you're probably, especially if you've already done a lot of steroid cycles, your own production is not coming back anyway. So in that case, PCT is just a waste of time and money. Michael Hearn, yeah. Aaron GSLP, no, I was not trolling him. Great video. Says, I think the abusive gear and the huge amounts of junk food and wrecked drug habits what killed Rich Piana. Rest his soul. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what killed Rich for sure. But I can tell you that if you choose to use large amounts of steroids, you shouldn't be eating crap food. You shouldn't be using recreational drugs, because you're already potentially doing a lot of harm to your health with the steroids anyway. So then if you're going to add to that by harming your health with crap food, alcohol, other things, you're just adding fuel to the fire, as they say. You're just making the chances of having severe health problems that much higher. So, I've known people on steroids. I've known pros who they ate clean all the time. They used no recreational drugs. They wouldn't drink. Like, I remember Mike Francois, who was incredible, won the Arnold Classic back in '95. He ate clean all year round. He did not use any drugs. The only thing, quote unquote, dangerous he did to his body was use steroids. And there are a lot of guys like that. But then there are plenty of guys out there who they use steroids in large doses, and they go out and drink, do some lines of Coke, some Molly, go get a pizza. They eat like Burger King every day, McDonald's, pizza, donuts, because it's all about the gains, right? And if they're on enough fat burners, if they're on Clan, DNP, and all this crap, they won't get that fat, so they think everything's okay. But these are the people that die when they're like 35, 40, and everyone's like, oh my God, what the hell? Yeah. You can't treat your body, you can't beat the crap out of your body that way and expect it to just keep bouncing back. Eventually, your luck will run out. Faiz Khan says, I want to play bodybuilding without gates. I think you meant to say gear, probably. Is it possible or not? Of course you can be a natural bodybuilder. Of course you can. You should be. If you don't want to impact your health, if you don't want to break the law, you can have your own reasons, whatever they are, but be a natural bodybuilder. Go for it. Why not? There's nothing wrong with it. There are natural shows you can do. Your health will be better off in the long term. You'll save so much money, guys. So much money. Especially growth hormone. Ooh, that's expensive. Santosh, how are your genetics for bodybuilding? What would you rate out of 10? That's a good question. I would say 6. So say 5 is average. I'm a little better than average. I had some body parts that responded exceptionally well. My chest, see my chest? I can't bench press for shit. And this is 51 years old. Still have a very thick chest. That grew very fast once I started training. My traps grew very fast. They actually used to be bigger. My quads grew very, very fast once I started training them, which was several years after I'd already been training some things on my upper body. But overall, I don't have the greatest genetics for bodybuilding. I don't have those real round, full muscles. My arms never responded the way my legs did. My structure's not awesome. So my genetics they're better than average, a little bit, but they're not much better, and they're certainly not in the great. If my genetics were that great, trust me, after all these years of training and eating and drugs, I'd be one of those guys, and I'm not. I write about them, I interview them, which is cool. I'm glad I have a job in something I'm very interested in. Rohit says, thank you, you're welcome. Andy, a lot of false hope out there from social media personalities. When you stop the drugs, you eventually lose your gains. Facts. Yeah, you can't be as big off drugs as you are on drugs. Nobody is. You'll see even the pros. Well, a lot of the pros, they're on drugs all the time now. But I'm saying you can't hold that amount of muscle tissue naturally that you can on drugs. If you could, why would people use drugs? You won't lose all the gains. That's a myth. Unless you never had a foundation, you don't know how to train, you know how to eat. The drugs are really doing everything for you. There are people like that. But you'll keep part of the gains. It depends on the person. It depends on how good they are with their training, their eating, their recovery. But you can keep about half of what you gain from every cycle. So if you gain 5 pounds of lean muscle tissue every cycle, which is that's a very significant muscle mass gain, believe it or not. 5 gains of actual muscle tissue. A lot of people say, well, I gained 20 pounds. You gain 10 pounds of fat, 5 pounds of muscle, 5 pounds of water. That's your 20 pounds. You gain 5 pounds of muscle. So if you could keep 2.5 pounds of those let's say you did 3 cycles a year, that's 7.5 pounds of muscle. That still doesn't sound like much, right? 2 years, that's 15 pounds. Anyway, you see how it adds up over time. You don't lose everything, but you do lose a significant amount. But you do get to keep. I have more muscle on me now than I certainly would if I'd never used steroids. I would never deny that. Is it okay to follow keto diet when on steroids? Yeah, you could. Wow, guys, I have been blabbing for almost an hour. I need to get in the shower. Haven't showered since my workout yet, so I appreciate you guys watching very much. Leave some questions in here. Leave some comments. If you have some good questions, I'll just use those questions for the next one of these. Of course, I'll give you proper credit with your shout out and all that. Please subscribe to the channel. If you like our channel, Muscular Development, please subscribe. Click that little bell thing so you know when we get more videos. Yeah, we got one last comment. Is there a career in natural bodybuilder or not? All right, this is the last thing I'm going to address, guys. I'm on gear right now. I'm 220. I'm on test right now. I'm on 400 milligrams of test, which for me is very, very little. Oh, God, guys. I've known plenty of people on gear that had major health problems for that question. Natural bodybuilding. Is there a career in it? There's not much of a career in bodybuilding, generally speaking, for anybody. You can make your own career on YouTube these days and Instagram. But there's not many people making money from competing in bodybuilding, be it natural or unnatural. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the great questions and comments. Appreciate you guys. If you're into this holiday, Valentine's Day, enjoy it with your girl, your guy, maybe a dog. I don't know, whoever's your Valentine today. That's it. Thanks for watching. Peace.